pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We'll do a quick roll call to determine the quorum. Councilor Baumgartner. Here. Everett is absent. Ferguson.
Here.
I'm here. Howard. We do have a quorum. We'll call the meeting to order here. First piece of business here. The council meeting is the public forum portion. This is the part of the meeting where we invite the public to address council on any issues out there. When addressing council, please provide your name for the meeting record. Generally holding speaking times to 3 minutes. If there's unfinished business after those 3 minutes, council can take a look at action or can direct staff for follow-up. So if anybody's here for a public forum, that would be the time to do that.
I'm gonna go with that's me.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Rebecca TC for the record. Is that all I need?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. I just wanted to come in front of you guys to address something that bring maybe some awareness to a situation. And I also want to be clear that I am here to represent TC Audiology as a renter and a business owner at the 600 East Park Avenue address. Due to previous contracted developments in the past years, it was brought to my attention that the property line for the building I rent is approximately 6 feet from the outer wall. An understanding when the building was remodeled in 2015, 2016, provided the green space would be available to the tenants of the building despite being city property. This green space includes 2 parking places where we keep our dumpsters and 2 forms of building access, including my front door. On Google Maps, and I do have some maps for you guys to take home, you can see where the green space and the alleyway down by Traditions is all intended to be one alleyway piece. And those spaces are equal. The current GIS lines, which designate this area to neighboring lots, are now set to be developed by the city EDA. The 2015 plat map has different lines than the county GIS. And while I love to see forward progress, my storefront for TC Audiology is on the west side of the building facing this green space. I see upwards of 60 people per week that use this door, including the elderly and veterans for the VA. I have contracts with the VA, which includes approximately 20 veterans per week from all over greater Minnesota, and Medicare that show specifics for parking and building access. To be certified by these federal entities, I must meet certain criteria, which includes these parking spaces and side access. Both entities make regular visits to inspect and take photos. Without moving the property line to reflect the estoppel between the city and the county, we will end up losing 4 valuable parking spaces due to property lines and garbage relocation, 2 of which are handicapped. I will not be the only business with a hardship due to this property ownership change. My fellow renters receive numerous 55-gallon drum deliveries weekly to the rear side door, which operates as a loading area of sorts. When the building was remodeled, it was specifically designed to use that entrance in this manner. Traditions residents also use the sidewalk that goes through the area as a means to go around the block. This issue was raised last year when Sarah Maher from Traditions Apartments and I met in August with the city administrator Elizabeth and the planning and zoning administrator Marissa about the concerns of the property lines and management of said green space, as we have been maintaining that green space for 10 years, including the addition of plants. We're requesting to have the city and county, who owns my parcel, work together to thoughtfully restructure these lines to reflect the 10 years of use and to ensure that the current survey is correct. Thank you for everyone's time.
Thank you.
And I will leave this stuff here for you guys. The nice, beautiful little map here.
How many feet do you need at a minimum from that west wall? That's what I assume is the west wall.
Yes, so considering most of the repairs to the building happen on that from that west side because the other side is locked by Traditions parking garage. So all the access to routine maintenance for, the air
Yeah,
conditioning
right.
and all
Little
that
maps.
stuff happens on that west side. Vehicles sometimes have to drive back in there, so,
Right along here.
yes, so if you look at this, so this is technically the line, this is my sidewalk. And then this is where the 2015 plat map marks it. So it does have a double line here, but this is being consumed into here.
So would this
This
be,
is the loading sidewalk that goes to the back entrance on this property.
if the line were here, would that be adequate?
That would be more than enough.
So matched with this way?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
I think we understand the situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the public here to address council? Anybody online? Okay, not seeing anybody, we'll close down the public forum portion of this meeting and begin with the regular meeting here, which includes the approval of the agenda. We've had the agenda here for a while. If anybody needs to make any changes, including taking the item out of consent agenda for discussion, now would be a great time to make that request. If everything looks good, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
second,
Motion's been made by Ferguson, seconded by Baumgartner to approve tonight's agenda. Any other discussion?
Can we add this as discussion?
Yeah,
This is, I will wanna clarify, this is EDA owned land and there is a public forum on this project this Wednesday at noon.
Yeah, can we table this and
Discuss that.
discuss it as different, even if you wanna do a workshop for it, I don't think we have enough information at the moment to move forward with the discussion.
It would take a while to bring everybody up to speed on the EDA, the property developer, things like that. Not saying we can't, but again, there is a public hearing, which I know Dr. TC is looking to come to on Wednesday.
I can't.
Oh,
I
you can't,
I
okay.
have a contract with the VA on Wednesday.
But this is, again, this is EDA owned land.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council. May I add something at the moment?
sure.
So I've just been, Elizabeth just reached out to me earlier today with some questions, and I asked her for some documents, historical documents from even before when we were city attorney. And so I just received one of them a little bit before this meeting, and so I would just ask, I think it would be more useful for the council for us to be able to have an opportunity to go back and look at all of this and the line, because, you know, this was a property that initially was sold, but then it reverted back to the EDA because the development didn't happen within the time period required. So it would be really useful for us to be able to go through and look at any deed restrictions and the easements that were attached to this, based on that those historic documents that we just got today. So I think it might be useful for us to have that review before there's any really concrete discussion about it.
You want to rescind your motion? Is that a thing?
Well, I didn't, I was asking
Oh,
if that
got it.
we added, but if it can't, then that's fine.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as written. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
All right,
Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved as written. We'll move down to the consent agenda here. It includes meeting minutes from the June 1st meeting. Resolution 58, step movement for Damon Coots. Resolution 59, a step movement for Riley Minkle. 60, step movement for Scott Forsman. 61, acknowledging and approving an off-site gambling permit application submitted by the Olivia Ambulance Service. 62 is approving a one-day temporary on-sale liquor license for the Olivia Ambulance Service. Renewable energy credits sale agreement with MMPA and the 2026 taxi line reconstruction project contract with M&R Paving and Excavating.
And there was, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, there was the resolution 63, we had got a last minute donation. Of $20 for the community center.
Okay, and the acceptance of a donation, resolution 63. For the community center, who's that from?
They wish to remain anonymous.
Okay, from anonymous. I'll call for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Howard and seconded by Baumgartner to approve the consent agenda as written. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda carries. All right, we're gonna move down to discussion items. First item for discussion A. Is a public hearing for ordinance 9, amending chapter 152 regarding high density residential bulk regulations. The process for this is to recess the meeting, take some staff reports, receive public comment, close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. So, Elizabeth, do you have anything to report on?
Yes, you may recall what we discussed at the last meeting regarding this ordinance. That was the first reading. This is now the second reading. Or since we're changing zoning code, we have a public hearing. So this update to our R2 bulk regulations, it strikes maximum lot coverage from the code, and then it also adjusts the front yard and the rear yard setbacks for the R2 zoning district. For single family and 2-family houses, so you can see the front yard reduces from 25 to 20, and the rear yard reduces from 30 to 20. This was considered by the planning commission, and they recommended the passage of it by the city council. Again, to allow people who are developing these lots more flexibility, to allow the current owners in the R2 district more flexibility as well on those specific lots.
Were in particular reason they picked those distances?
Yeah, they were looking at a couple of different graphics to show, obviously you still want safety consideration when people are driving by your street, when the snow plows are plowing into yards and things like that. And then the other considerations is when they were starting to look at the minimum lot size of 4,000 and just how much everything gets eaten into for a very minimum lot size. That's why they added it. And then they even brought out tape measures to see if they thought that could be passable. So that's how they landed up on 20.
Right.
Do you have Mayor Hawkinson? You were at the meeting. Do you
It
have
was quite
anything
an
to add?
exercise, yeah, we were measuring 20 feet versus 25 feet looks like, and yeah, we're just trying to maximize the buildable area of these small lots, and this is the tool that we decided we landed on to do it. Good question. All right, anybody here for public comment regarding the amendment to chapter 152 regarding high density residential bulk regulations? Not seeing any movement there, so I will we'll close down the public comment portion of this ordinance and reopen the regular meeting. Item B is the actual approval of the ordinance 9, amending chapter 152 regarding R2 high density residential bulk regulations. I'll call for a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion's been made by Baumgartner, seconded by Ferguson to approve ordinance 9. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance has passed as written. Do we need to do a summary publication?
No.
No? Okay. All right, we'll move down to discussion item C regarding the downtown alley.
We're gonna turn it over to city engineer Justin Black.
Okay, thank you very much, glad to be here. As the mayor mentioned, the agenda item tonight is the downtown alley improvement project. And it would start at the post office and extend north to Highway 212. Last week I met Craig out on site, and this has been a priority for staff, even starting last year. Craig had mentioned it to me, and it's something that the city was looking at doing. Taking a look at the alley, and I don't know if any of you have recently driven it. I know Todd has. It's in poor condition, and the city staff has done a great job of trying to pull it together with some patching. So if you go out there, you see some patching of new pavement, but overall, it's failing. Craig did dig down in one of the areas where the pavement's broken up, just to see what type of gravel base we had below there, and when we dug down, there was maybe an inch. Of gravel base, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing the running, especially on the north end, there's just nothing to support the alley. So knowing that, it needs to be more than a mill and overlay in order for us to have an investment that's gonna last. So just back of the envelope right now, we look at removing the pavement, doing some excavation to get a gravel base in there, so we've got a good foundation, and then paving over the top of it. Now, I know we talked a little bit about coordination and making sure the trucks can get in and out for the post office. That's a detail we'll have to work through as we move forward. Just in my observations out there, I know that there's gas mains. There's also some telecommunications, looks like some Nuvera boxes. So we'll want to get in touch with the utility companies and see what depth their utilities are at. Hopefully they're deep enough where we can get in there and do the work that we need to do as part of the project. So as far as our involvement as city engineer, we'd be able to help the city move through the process of preparing a plan and specification and bid documents, and help you solicit quotes from contractors, and bring those quotes back to the city, and then help through the administration of the project, meeting with contractor utility companies on site, measuring quantities and taking through the process. So in the packet tonight is a proposal for doing those engineering services that I described, starting off with preparing the plans and specifications, and this would take us all the way through construction related services, construction administration, and helping the city review and approve applications for payment to the contractor. So we've outlined a total fee of $13,600 for those services for moving through the project. Elizabeth asked if we could take a look and at least provide a high level cost estimate of what this might cost, and including that $13,600, we're estimating just in round numbers about an $83,000 project for this alley improvement, really a reconstruction project, so more than just an overlay. With that, I'll stop. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Otherwise, the schedule moving forward from tonight, approving this agreement would really kick things off. We prepare the plan specifications, big documents, and then bring them back at your second meeting in July. Share those with you, and then at that time you'd authorize us along with staff to get quotes. We bring those quotes back in August. So construction would probably happen in September.
And to better provide you all with a detailed about, I did ask Justin to provide kind of a high level analysis. So currently the city's anticipating having between last year and this year about $66,000 that we will have received from the state. It's through the Transportation Advancement Account, which is small cities assistance, particularly to help cities with road improvement projects. So with that, the storm sewer fund would cover the storm sewer portion of the event of the project, and then there's roughly around $12,000 left unaccounted for. Our proposal in talking with Sean would be $4,000 from the other three utilities. The other three utilities have very healthy reserve funds, very healthy balances, and so that's how we would propose to pay for this project if this is something that the council would like to move forward with this year.
Where did the bulk of it come from?
Transportation Advancement Account and small cities assistance received from the state.
It's the sales tax from auto parts.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the bulk of this project would be funded from.
Okay, so the question that pops to the top of my mind is, you have started a list of building maintenance items, other things to try to stay ahead of maintenance, whatever.
Yeah.
Are there other things that rank higher than this alley? What doesn't get done because we do the alley?
Very good question. Nothing is immediately popping to my mind of what doesn't get done because of the alley. We're taking care of a lot of community center needs through the MDE grant that we're partnering with the county with. This building has been, just recently remodeled, added onto.
But those funds, the 66, did you say?
Correct. That's specifically for like road
only for
improvements.
the
Yeah,
road
we wouldn't be able to take we shouldn't be taking things designated for road improvements and putting them to something else.
So then, can we narrow it down to what road then for Matt? what other road wouldn't be taken care of if we do this one? Cause if we can't use the funds for anything other than the road, then.
Right.
Otherwise, unless you're asking about a $12,000 project.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I need to ask what,
Yeah, I mean, I think the other roads to, the other alleyways to consider that are really rough in our downtown area are the stretch that we're talking about today. Also the stretch by FM Bank to the Axe office building, just south of that alleyway, where like the post office box is, where you drive up and deposit letters. And then the paved alleyway by the radio station and like in the back alleyway of the Horncade Vision Systems, the food bank. That one, our public works team and our water wastewater team have band-aided over in the past year or so. So this is truly kind of the roughest alleyway that we've identified.
Well, and that one has bigger trucks and more cars going through it daily than the
Yeah,
other ones
and that-
do.
And of the three,
I think by
that's
far the
definitely
most important.
It's in the worst shape. Between New Era coming in and putting their stuff in last summer. That created quite a mess. On the south side of that alley. Probably 25 feet north of the sidewalk, 25, 30 feet north of the sidewalk, where they dug that whole alley out. And then put their lines and whatnot in, and it's been filled and filled and filled and filled, and it just, with the truck traffic going in and out of there, it's not good. And then with the truck traffic going out of that alley on the north end, that gets chewed up pretty good just because they're braking toward the end of the alley, and the brakes, tires breaking in that, on a material that's not that good to begin with, it's just chewing it up.
I mean, the other option is, of course, delaying this one more year to get a third year of this transportation advancement account, small cities assistance. And then that would theoretically cover the whole project, and we wouldn't split the 4,000 from each of the electric, water, or wastewater utilities. That's another option if we wanted to wait another year on this project.
so the out of pocket is 12,000.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's gonna be, we've assigned, the storm sewer is gonna be kind of out of pocket too, but we've already assigned that to an account, storm sewer.
Consider that we're gonna be throwing money at it again this year just to make it passable for another season too.
Well, that's the other question, they keep putting gravel and binder in there to try to fill those holes. So that it's not eating a mail truck when it goes in and out of there.
how much
How
does
many
that
Band-Aids
cost?
do you put on there before you gotta fix it? What costs are each one of those Band-Aids?
I can't imagine that's like the super cheapest thing to do either.
I can't, I mean, I don't have it nailed down to that level, but I mean, it's several loads of tar and things like that that we do to hatch all of those different areas.
It's gotta be done.
So, Mr. Mayor, we'd be just looking for approval of the agreement with S.E.H. and that would kick things off.
So do we need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve
I'll second it.
CH.
Motion's been made by Ferguson, seconded by Baumgartner to approve the engineer work. For this downtown alley project with S.E.H. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
All right,
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Justin?
Thank you, Justin. Now we have Zach in from the SMART team to talk about high angle rescues and related items.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Just from the meeting as I gave you a few months ago for an update. As of right now, there's been a couple meetings with the county. I was not able to make the first one or the second one due to my work schedule. The first one had popped up last minute notice, and I already had prior commitments for work, so. The second one was out of town when that one came up. I know the second one, that wasn't up to us or anybody at the city to determine that date, because that was the executive committee. The first one, I can't speak to the fire chief, but there was a little frustration because fire chief and I weren't asked ahead of time as to what our availability was. It was just made between the city administrator and the emergency manager for the county to have a meeting. And basically I told her, here's the date of the meeting, be there if you can. Well, unfortunately, we couldn't make last minute changes like that. As far as within the team, we've got a private nonprofit in the works, getting it up. Not fully operational yet, we're working on that. To try to help with fundraising pieces for the team. Kyle Smith is one of our rescuers. He's our Redwood Falls, been deemed the president of that. And he's working with the other board members that were chosen amongst the team to kind of get all that put into place. So it's not up and operational yet, but they're working through the bylaws and all the paperwork and all the stuff through the process. So, other than that, I've had some discussions with some of the other entities about different ideas. I had discussions with the team members about different ideas. Not a lot of new ideas came up other than trying to figure out how to share the costs. What the idea that seems to be the most favorable amongst everybody I've talked to has been to have someone be the home entity, of it, or the homeowner of it. And then have like an MOU where it's, we have a set budget and then have that MOU where the budget is split amongst all the cities or departments or whatever, whoever's involved with that. My recommendation on that would be is that we're to move forward with that, is that the MOU would be between the team and the fire departments. Because then the fire departments can turn around and say, well, we get our funding from townships, or we get our funding from a city, or we get our funding from wherever. Leave it up to each department to figure out how to divvy out that bill, rather than us trying to set up MOUs with every single township and every single city and all that stuff.
What's MOU for?
Or the memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
The one thing that the one brought up, he said is their biggest concern would be that if that's run by, he just threw a number up there, so say there's 9 people on the board. And all of a sudden those people say, we're gonna raise the budget next year. And he said, all of a sudden we go from, say it's $2,500 a year that we're spending on it, to now all of a sudden our budget, we have to spend 10 grand next year. He said, we're worried about that piece. And I said, well, there's ways we can do that. It has to be written in the memorandum or the original MOU that, hey, you need to be X amount of years notice of raising a budget and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm not gonna get into all that now, but I think there's definitely interest out there in having conversations. It's just trying to, piece that together and try to get everybody kind of on one page to try to do I think the easiest way to do like a virtual meeting one night, rather than trying to get all the entities come to one location. So that's the conversations I've had. Elizabeth had just informed me last week. I got an email from her saying the county has decided not to move forward with considering our team at the county level until at least 2027. They consider for the 2028 budget year.
Okay.
I don't know the background on that. Maybe Elizabeth can share as to why.
Sure. So the May 5th meeting was attended by myself, Kevin Morris, and Assistant Commander for the SMART team, Mark Everson. We had that with the Executive Committee of the Renville County Commissioners. So that consists of Greg Snow and John Robinson, along with Lisa Purgis, the County Administrator, and Mike Hennon, the Emergency Manager. When the 3 of us presented the proposal to take SMART as a county level resource, the executive committee was split, one saying yes and one being very hesitant. So after, 30-45 minutes of discussion, what the executive committee asked is we need more internal time to review. So that was at the beginning of May. So at the beginning of June, I followed up with them to say, hey, you asked for more internal time to review, any update where this stands? And then the update was, well, we're gonna consider it again internally at an executive committee meeting, I'll keep you posted. And then that follow-up was, we would like to kick the can down the road to 2027 to consider potentially for a 2028 budget year. And I said, thank you very much. And then that's at the time I also checked in with Zach for this meeting to provide that update that I received from the county.
That's not a no.
Not. There's a calendar reminder on March 2027 in my calendar to follow up. There was some concern, and I don't know if Mark shared this with you when he was at the meeting.
I didn't get any feedback from anybody until Mark told me, basically, he said, I think it went okay. He said, didn't go great, didn't go bad, but I think it went okay. He didn't elaborate. When I talked to Chief Morris last week after getting an update, I contacted Chief Morris, and said, hey, what am I missing? Because I thought Mark said it went okay. What? And he said, well, there was concern that there was people from a certain community in our county that wanted to be on the team and didn't get chosen for the team. And I said, well, I apologize for that, but we interviewed everybody and Elizabeth was in on it. We rated everybody at points and they just didn't make the cut. And then actually one of them we called back to say, hey, we had one of the new applicants didn't make it through. We want to bump you up to the next spot. or to get you in, and he said, actually, I moved out of the area. So it wasn't that we don't want anybody from that community, it just
Right.
didn't work out. We just had better higher qualified candidates elsewhere. So.
Yeah, so then there was just some concern about from that community saying, well, they haven't come down here, and we tried to explain the importance of an emergency service. Hopefully they never visit your community, right? Like that's not their goal. Their goal is to be there in the event something were to happen. So it shouldn't be a knock against this team that they've never been down to assist somebody in your community, but they are there to respond if you're there. And we tried to explain the value of that, and it wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
There was actually just a death, wasn't there? And
There was.
3 feet of one, they said they were buried.
Yeah, down in Stoughton, and we didn't get called to that one. I haven't talked to the Stoughton Fire Chief as to why or anything like that. That's a little ways from us, it's a year and a half, almost south of us where the call was. So they're probably not super aware of our team. The other
Also
one.
would have been a closer team to respond. Did that team actually respond out of the city limits at Marshall, or is that just a?
They're there for Marshall Fire Department. That's what they were designed to be, was to protect the city of Marshall.
But I mean, the Marshall Fire Department goes outside of the city limits of Marshall, correct?
Only if they request mutual aid. But their tech rescue team is their own department, so if they get paged out, they leave their city unprotected. Over half their department leaves the town to protect them, and the other half's department on the hazmat. So they don't typically leave the city of Marshall. That's not their goal. Fire chief and I have had lots of conversations about that. If they're needed outside, they will typically respond if they're able to. All their requests, except for one, has been with our team, where we've just needed more manpower, more guys who are trained. There was one that was actually closer to them than us. We were en route. We were like, hey, let's get somebody there as quick as possible. And they had some guys that could head there, and we actually pulled them right away at the same time as they did. We thought they were a little closer than us, kind of they weren't. But so the other one, there was a call in Renville County last week that we didn't get called for. I have not spoken with the sheriff as to find out why. It might be just a blank of the mind that forgot that we could help with heavy extrication, heavy semis. They have a semi upside down that we are able to lift them and hold them up, stabilize them upside down, which we have done in Renville County before. Just this one, they didn't call for us. They called for I heard them call for a heavy tow truck or heavy wrecker ASAP. And then I didn't hear any more about it. And I'm not going to be the guy that calls the sheriff in the middle of the deal going, sheriff, what do you got? You need us to respond? And that's not. Usually incident commanders don't take kindly to other people calling them and saying, hey, call us.
Right.
So yeah, that's a conversation to have with them.
Is there any way for you to have like a campaign of going through and talking to these different departments and reminding them that you are available? Because I mean, that comes with a bill, does it not? Like you get to bill for your time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, in the past, we had this discussion in March that the bill had not been sent out. I was not aware it was on our team to do it because our team's never handled any of the billing side of it or any of that stuff. So that part I can't answer to it in the past, but yeah, we've done it where we've gone out and met with fire departments. We went to their training nights and went through all of our equipment, showed them what we do and what we help with and stuff like that. We've had a lot of those conversations. We've sent out the sheets that, basically it's like a quick call sheet, like here, if it meets any of these, give us a call. Dispatch has a requested auto launch for us sheet that lists heavy extrication on it. For whatever reason, we just didn't be calling out.
And I think like personally as a business owner, I forget the importance of promotion of myself and my business. And I think maybe that might assist you a little bit, is to promote your team yourself, or designate someone to promote you via social media, via going to speaking to these different, the sheriff and the other fire departments and saying, hey, we're here to assist you. And I mean, even having a community meeting with farmers and being like, hey, this is what we can do. And because even them, if whoever's there isn't thinking about it, they can say, hey, call Smart. You know what I mean?
I think you guys were at Farm Fest, right?
Yeah, we did Farm Fest. We paid for that out of our fundraising money we did. We went down there and met with people. We've done different events on the community. We're always at the Olivia Corn Capital Night or the Family Fun Night doing stuff.
So we've been trying to do different things, we've done some social media stuff in the past, we haven't been super good at staying up on it, but we've tried to post pictures of trainings and things like that we do, and,
Yeah, it's a lot, it's a, it's a task to keep up,
you know.
because, you know, it's a task to keep that stuff up, it really is. But it's stuff that we don't think about because we didn't grow up having that as kids, like we weren't seeing advertisements on Facebook. You know, we were watching a commercial on TV, but
Well, these guys are learning, you know, advanced techniques for saving lives, you know, Facebook is not top of their mind, you know.
no, but income.
And we,
Income is,
right.
If you can send a bill, you can bring in income, is
Yeah, but,
my point, like.
Part of that
they-
is why we don't get called, because they don't wanna get that bill, because they don't get reimbursed on the other end. Sure. So all these fire departments, when you send us $25 bill, their insurance cover only goes $500, we end up eating all that $2,500. The other hiccup is that because we're a division of the Olivia Fire Department, the Renville County Mutual Aid Agreement and the West Central Mutual Aid Agreement are in place that says we can't bill for 3 hours. Because we're a member of the Olivia Fire Department, and Olivia Fire Department, all the fire departments have an agreement that's been signed for years that for up to 3 hours, we will provide assistance to other departments without billing. Yeah. Within our mutual aid agreement. Which it benefits us, obviously.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, because of that, there's no stipulation there that tech rescue isn't part of that. Right. So that, yeah, I don't know how that would play into that, we've never been questioned on it, but there again, like we've talked before, there hasn't been bills sent out with it and done either. So, probably because it fell under the mutual aid agreement.
Right.
It could be. And so we also do attend the Yale Medicine County ICS meetings, they call them. They do those every quarter. We attend them at least once a year. Which all that is it's all the chief officers, or all the officers of all their fire, EMS, and law enforcement throughout the entire county get together at different locations in the county every quarter. So we have the countywide emergency services meeting that typically we do every year. I don't remember, did we do one last year, Jason? I don't think we've done one for a few years in Renville County now. But most counties have like a chiefs association or something to get together every 3 months. And we attend those, and I think that's a big reason why we've seen a lot more calls in Yale Medicine County, because they're very well aware of us. Plus, they were part of getting this team going as far as the equipment piece of it, so.
If you're a nonprofit, cause that's what you're going for, right? You get a nonprofit status?
Well, the nonprofit would be like a fire relief association to help support this. We wouldn't operate under the nonprofit unless, that'd have to take a lot more conversations, because the equipment and everything would have to get moved over, we have to do a lot
So
more.
you still operate under the Olivia Fire Department?
Unless we can come up with a different agreement, yeah. For now, it was what I understood that I was tasked with was come up with a nonprofit to help support this, so that's what I'm working on.
And when is that gonna be operational?
I would assume this summer yet, I'm not on the committee for that, because as the commander, I didn't feel it was right for me to be in charge of that as well. That's probably right. So Kyle Smith is in charge of that, and he's going through the paperwork, and they wrote bylaws and all that, and he presents them to our group. Assuming he'll have stuff to present here in 2 weeks at our monthly meeting in June. As a status update, so.
Can you remind me what we were gonna go through today?
It was just an update. The questions is what's the status of the nonprofit creation, which it sounds like it's still in progress with, are we thinking in August? We're thinking creation?
I would be surprised if I don't learn on this day.
Okay. And then you were asking Zach to talk about the different meetings he's had with different entities to indicate financial support. So if he's met with certain townships or certain other groups to indicate financial support of the team in the future. So we could possibly again leverage more of that financial support.
And you said you want fire departments to have it as part of their.
Well, I think that's the simplest way to do it, because like we talked about before, if you were to do an MOU amongst all of them, you got 10 cities and was there 20 some townships in Renville County, plus then you got Yale Medicine County, if you use any part of Redwood, Chippewa, whatever you start filling us in. Pretty soon that gets to be so many entities where if we narrow down fire departments, then there's some fire departments that are 100% in their city and they don't do anything with townships. And there's other ones that are all township and don't do anything with the city. And then there's most of us mix. And that way, if the MOU is with that fire department, because that's who we're there to assist, then they can figure out how they want to divvy that up.
So if there's like 10 groups and your budget is 10,000, everybody commits $1,000 to you every year.
Yep. The number that I've talked to people about was if we take into capital improvement and everything else, I said if we talk about being sustainable for the long term, If we say 50,000 and our goal is to get 20 entities involved with that, that's $2,500 per entity. And Melissa said that's doable, but we just gotta make sure that everybody's on the same page with doing it. And for the most part, I've talked to fire chiefs because like I said, I wanna make that agreement with them. And they know their city councils and their township boards better than anybody. Because, well, I mean, I would assume so, anyway, they know better than me for sure. And most of them have said, yes, that's not a problem, with the exception of a couple where they've got city councils talking about disbanding their fire department, or they've got townships that are mad about a section fee. They said we might have a little hiccup here, but here or there, but most of them said, yes, we want to at least have a conversation and see where we go with it.
So then I'm assuming that would be on the city to execute 25 different MOUs with 25 different entities.
Yeah, it would have to be,
Okay.
unless we're not city owned. Like I said, I'm not saying it has to stay in the city to do that, but that may be a way to get the county or whoever, whatever entity wants to own us, may be a little more open to doing it if we have a plan for finances.
And so we are looking into the county, but then if the county owns you guys, we still house you at that time, or is?
That wasn't, they actually in speaking, they might have a location for them to be housed as well.
Oh.
So that was on the table at the discussion. Chatting about that very briefly.
Sad part is, Zach, is what you're presenting is something that is very necessary. But because individuals have not been directly affected by the magic that your team can do in an emergency situation, some people are blind to how important your team is. That's the unfortunate part, and that's the struggle that you're fighting against right now. I've seen it, I've been a part of it, I understand it, so I know how important it actually is. But that's the true struggle right now, is doesn't affect me, so why should I worry about it?
Yeah,
And it's unfortunate.
and it depends. The bonus notice they can affect anyone. We all know that. I mean,
But until
the semi practice we've been to, the people in those cars had no idea that they were going to be involved with a semi or ever be trapped underneath one until we went to lift it. The guy that got pinned under the tree, he was just doing tree work in his yard, and the tree tipped the wrong way. We know it can happen to anybody, and we understand that there's risks of everything we do in life. But the difference is how we respond to it. And I guess the way we look at it is, yeah, we've only had, whatever, roughly 15 calls in 9 years, but the team before us had 5 calls in 18 years. So we know that there's more, whether it's awareness or demand for the team or whatever you want to call it, it's happening more often. And other than the few that we got called too late, we have a really good track record of people making it through the calls. And that's where we hang our hat. The 15-year-old boy was stuck on top of the green dryer with his legs caught in the auger, that made it out and been on Care 11 twice now he's now surfing and snowboarding and everything else that they're showing his success and things like that. That's where we hang our hat, and we're happy to see that. It's, you're right, we haven't done a great job of getting like those stories on social media because we're a group that doesn't like to beat our chest too much, right? And like we've shared a couple of them, but we don't we haven't done that maybe as much as we should.
And it just, I know we're all busy, but like I agree with you, extremely important work what you do, and having that niche, not just the rescue, but the extremely difficult rescues and that can save time to be able to save a life or somebody's legs or whatever it is. It's huge. I see the importance, absolutely see the importance of it. And budgetary side, I also see how it'd be nice to share that. The expense of it, I get it. But I think you really need to beat your chest, and I think you really need to promote your team, because what SMART does is extremely important. And maybe you would have, we don't want you to have more calls, but you would probably have more calls if you were at the top of people's mind when things like that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of calls, I didn't highlight. We did have We have had one call since our last meeting. We were over in Bride Island for they had a grain fire in their grain elevator. Fire department was working at Heights. It was actually Olivia Fire was on top of the bin. Trying to get in the bin and they were having trouble holding on to the bin and trying not to slide off. So we got called to just make sure the guys didn't fall off the bin. So we got up there and tied everybody off to ropes and we just managed their ropes and managed their air supply from down below, so they weren't trying to move around with big heavy air packs in their back. It was just kind of a different deal where it wasn't a rescue, it was showing that, hey, we can assist with some other stuff that isn't really. Nobody looks at as tech rescue, but between the tying people off, the supplied air system, the on-site filling of the SCBA bottles, we had multiple pieces getting utilized that day.
The expertise was needed, even though it wasn't necessarily a rescue.
Yeah, we weren't, and they called Wilmer's, we called Wilmer's aerial down to try to help, and Wilmer's aerial got there and said, we can't do anything. The guys in the ropes can go do 10 times more than we can. And they had their aerial up for 10 minutes, they took it back down and said, sorry guys, we're out of here, we just can't help. So it's kind of nice to see, you know, the departments around us anyway, the local ones. I don't remember who, I want to say it was a sheriff's deputy that actually made the decision that day. Like he went up to the fire chief in Bride Island and said, hey, we should call Tech Rescue to help them guys because they're struggling up there and we don't need to be falling from an 80-foot building
Right.
to the ground. So
Yeah, because it's not like they're gonna stop fighting the fire,
no,
you know, and it's nice to have somebody making sure that they're safe when they're trying to make sure everybody's safe.
we've done a couple other events since then. We did a safety day out at ADM Bean Company here in Olivia. They had their safety week. I know Howie has participated in that in the past. 2 years ago with the ambulance, we did a full drill. This year we didn't do a full drill. We went in a pre-plan, talked about some stuff that they're planning to do within their facility to try to change some things so that we're aware of it, so that if something goes wrong, we know how things are different than what we've done in the past out there, how equipment's set up, that kind of stuff. And then we had one resignation that just came in this last week that I haven't even got a chance to process through yet. We're still kind of getting the letter and everything put together. Chris Goodman from Litchfield took a new position within his company. He said, I'm gonna be traveling 8 states and I'm just not gonna be able to commit. And he said, I'm not gonna be the guy that is in the seat every 4 months. I wanna be there all the time or not at all. Yeah. Well, he's resigning. So my other question to the city council is gonna be, I know obviously there's a lot of questions around our team right now. We've got Chris's position, a few others open. If we have people are interested, are we good to still get people in and hired and train them, or where are we at with it?
That's for you all. They have a roster of 20 that they can fill. You know, if you guys feel comfortable with them adding to that roster, they can go up to 20. That's kind of.
What are you at right now?
With Chris, even believe we'll be at 16. Because we have one member that I need to talk to Elizabeth about starting the process of letting go because he hasn't shown up. And he's doing no calls, no shows. It's not fair for anybody to keep him on the roster, so I'm not counting him in the 16 either. So.
Is there an ongoing cost just for being on the roster, or is it?
Not unless we get calls or just when they show up to monthly meetings and trainings.
They get a training wage and then a call.
And do all you show up, or is it just is there typically a core group of guys that are assigned to a call, or is it?
Whoever's available get going,
Okay.
because we don't know if we're gonna need 5 guys or 20 guys during the call. Like if it's a semi flipped over in the ditch, we're gonna go get by with 5, 6 guys, and then the firefighters that are there, you know, that have their basic education training will probably be fine. If it's a high angle rope rescue out of a grain bin, we're gonna need 20 guys. Because we're gonna need guys in rope, we need haul teams, we're gonna need rigging guys, we're gonna need guys in the bin helping get the guy out of the corn and strapped up, ready to go. It'll take almost the whole team to do that.
It'd be hard for these guys to find any other support if they can't like respond to a call because they're undermanned or something, you know what I mean?
The only time we've had is, like I said, we called Marshall that one time because we had a green rescue in Porter and we knew we were gonna need manpower being in the green bin. It was like close to 100 degrees that day. We knew we were gonna rotate people out and we needed trained staff to do that. And then we felt they were a little bit closer. So we called Marshall for that and they came to help us. The only other time was we called Kansas County Rescue for some equipment because we were running short. We do what the operation is gonna be. It's like we might run a little short on these couple pieces of equipment. They run the same brand of equipment for their struts, for their extrication piece.
That was one where we had to lift a semi up and cut the driver out of the cab from a fatal semi crash. Well, we assumed it was gonna be fatal, we didn't know yet at that point. But so then they came down with just a pickup with the pieces that we requested, they brought down like 5 or 6 pieces, cause we knew like, hey, we're probably need more bases and like 2 or 3 more struts than what we got. So they rolled down with those first.
If you're authorized to go to 20, I would encourage you to get there.
We do have some people who are interested, that's what I asked, it's like, before we start going through the process, set up interviews with the city administrator and fire chief and stuff, I want to make sure we got approval from you guys to continue that way. If we're gonna hand off a team to somebody or, part of a team or whatever the case is, we wanna make sure it's functional.
And complete.
Because as if our numbers start dropping too low or we can't fully operationally respond, then we definitely will not. Right, be like, there's no point calling half a team, we'll wait for the Twin Cities one, and it'll be a fatal, but they're not gonna call half a team because they know we won't be able to respond or do anything anyway. Yeah, I'd say if you have some good looking applicants, then look them. Yeah. We'll put on a Facebook post that we have in the past, just saying, hey, we're gonna start an interview soon and. We know we've got this couple that are interested already, but if there's anybody else out there, we obviously wanna get the best of the best that we can, so. And for those communities that said that we lead them out, we wanna give them an opportunity to reapply, I mean, it's not, we're not trying to leave anybody out, so.
Maybe some special outreach to those.
Yeah, I could do that, I think
Good idea, personally reach.
Maybe they'll make a visit at their next fire meeting or something. So, anything else you can think of? No. What about you guys? Good. Thank you, Zach. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about marijuana in the parks.
Talk about lighter smoking.
I saw it the other day.
Yeah, so the next item of business is the first reading regarding our ordinance 10, which amends Parks and Recreation chapter. This was brought to our attention by our Public Works Superintendent, who has noted marijuana being smoked in park bathrooms. In coordination with the chief and in coordination with the city attorney, we decided to look at chapter 95 regarding Parks and Recreation to put something very specific in there that prohibits smoking of any kind in the parks. However, as is customary, when we have a chapter open, particularly if it's not a really hefty chapter, we try to look at all of it, because if we're gonna open a chapter to amendments, let's open it up for amendments. So the other one that we found, that Chief found, so I appreciate Chief's attention to this, is in the overnight use of city parks for Memorial Park. The first amendment would be amending section D, section 8, open burning is prohibited except for fires contained within designated park fire pits or grills provided by the city. Because there are city provided fire pits at Memorial Park, and we certainly want people to use them as an amenity of the park. The second section that we're looking to just add completely to chapter 95 of the city code is smoking in public recreational areas. So this is our parks, our trails, our park shelters, the Veterans Memorial, the city owned trail that goes on the south side of the town. Any playgrounds, any parking lots adjacent to city parks. Smoking includes, you can see the very specific definition here. Inhaling, exhaling, burning, vaping, all the different items that are included under smoking. So this is making it just very clear that it is prohibited in all public parks.
That was already a part of our ordinance, wasn't it?
We didn't have we didn't have a smoking in public recreational areas ordinance. This is why we are adding it here today in our Parks and Recreation chapter.
So we had signs at the park, but no ordinance to give them any beef.
I swear it was in the.
It was
parks.
public spaces,
Public spaces.
maybe.
No, it wasn't, because I remember specifically saying we should put it in there and nobody agreed with it.
I'm just saying, when we
Bring
looked
it up.
at chapter 95 of Parks and Recreation,
Actually got.
it didn't have a specific ordinance. It's very possible that we had a citywide policy
Yes.
regarding what you can or cannot do in the parks. However, having it in our city code adds a little extra oomph behind it.
Can we go back to the open fire one? So does that mean you like can't bring your own grill to the parks? Cause people bring their grills to the parks.
Grills using propane gas or charcoal will be permitted, yep.
Okay.
That's just for Memorial Park?
Yes, that's where we have this located. This is overnight, this is under the section particularly for overnight use of the park. So this is overnight use of a city park, and where we allow you to be overnight in a park is Memorial Park. So this is specifically under the overnight camping Memorial Park section.
Everybody good with the first reading?
Mhm.
Can I get a motion to approve the first reading?
No motions needed,
Oh.
we just have to, we'll approve the ordinance with the second reading at our July 6th meeting.
Got it. We only do 300 of these a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Change it on you every single time,
All right.
depending on what it is.
Do we have any reports from council? Talk about that natural disaster thing now?
We did defer to Elizabeth on that. We did have the training for the emergency management plan. There was quite a bit of fire there.
Yeah, kudos to the fire department for organizing and getting the necessary groups in the room. We saw a really good amount of city staff who were in attendance. And I think it was a really good discussion. I think Mike Hennon ran a really good exercise. It got a lot of people talking, it got a lot of people thinking. From what I have heard from that meeting, a lot of people want to go to the next step of the meeting, which we definitely think would be beneficial. There's some more internal processes we want to refine before going to that next step, but I do think, again, the overall feedback was people want to go to the next step.
I understood that.
Which is good. I mean, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We definitely need something in place. Doing this from a national level and whatnot, the experience that I've had, I've seen communities that have been able to go through a disaster very calmly and smoothly because they had a great plan in place. And then I've seen the ones that didn't have a plan in place, and when the poo-poo hit the oscillating device, they were scurrying and trying to figure out who's gonna help and where do we get help and how do we make this better, and just not, the simple things as far as agreeing on where the emergency operations center is gonna be. If your police and fire are thinking that it's gonna be at the firehouse and the city staff is thinking that it's going to be here, well, now you've got a conflict right out of the gate before you even start figuring out who's on first. So having all the bases covered and having a plan to know who's gonna be in charge, where things are gonna be staged. All that stuff is of utmost importance. That we went through stuff the other night as far as even requesting volunteers and getting volunteers and stuff in there. And where are you staging them and where are you housing them and porta potties and all those things. And it's things that the average person doesn't think about in an emergency, but people that have been trained in this, it's a sickness that we have. It is the things that we think about. When we're constantly watching the news, you're seeing things that are happening in different communities and you're analyzing that information and seeing what mistakes did they make that we can make sure that we don't make in our community.
And I mean, I think the residents of the city of Olympia, in any disaster that we've had, any even strong windstorms, like instantly, I know me and my family are instantly in the car, as soon as the storm has passed, in the car going to people's houses, helping them move trees, helping them pull, you know what I mean? Like, we've cleaned the parks before, because obviously the Parks Department and everybody's really busy. So if I couldn't make it because it was Robert's birthday, and then they had a tournament. But I would love to know more about what was said and what happened, and was there any thought as to like the local volunteers that go out and do stuff like that, where we could maybe gather and get direction of where we were needed the most, because we don't know,
That's
we're just
all-
out assuming.
That's all stuff that gets incorporated into the plan, because it's, Mike said it that night, it's a 2-2-2-2. It's 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. And that's how you plan things. So, but what are we gonna do in the first 2 hours? Those are the things that we need to know. And once you get through that first 2 hours, then you can start looking forward and seeing, okay, these are the next things that we're gonna need. And in those first 2 days, after you've done an assessment and figured out all the damage that was where it was, then you start figuring out, okay, we're gonna need volunteers to be able to come in and help clean this up or clean that up or move here or help move people from the nursing home or from the hospital or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's all part of an actual written plan that would coincide with a specific emergency. A tornado comes through and tears it up. Okay, tornado policy is going to be this, and these are the ways that things are going to get worked through. A train derailment with toxic fumes. Plume is heading in this direction. Okay, so then this has got to be done, A, B, and C. It's all part of a written plan so that it can be followed, and it needs to be a written plan so that it is not. That meeting was all of the, there was a lot of the heads of the departments that were there.
Nope, it was all of their staff as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I get what you're saying, like you don't wanna plan to be person dependent, but I will say like,
Exactly.
we had department heads. We had almost 100% attendance from city staff. A really strong turnout from our local fire department volunteers, so. We kind of made it required for department heads and the ones that they supervise.
Yeah, like 40 people.
But it was, you get into that situation where if you're, just for example, Craig is in there and answering a lot of the questions because that's his department.
Mhm.
Well, Craig's on vacation in Maui. Does the next guy know exactly all the same things that Craig knows? He should, but does he? And is he gonna be able to respond to that type of an incident the same way that Craig would? Because let's face it, we've all gotten used to the way that Craig's gonna handle a situation. And if it hits the fan, we want the next guy to be able to pick up where Craig would pick up and make things happen the same way that he does. So that's where having that plan written out is so important. Because it's a contingency plan. If something happens where Craig's not here, the next guy's gonna be able to grab that list and say, okay, these are the things that I've gotta make sure are all good, and these are the things that Public Works is responsible for, and these are the assets that I've got. And once they get committed to these places, now I know that I've gotta start asking for assets coming from the county. Okay, we've got 15 generators and I've got them all committed to these things right now, but I need another 15. Mike, I need 15 generators and they've gotta be of this minimum size so that I can keep my operations going. And then but it's all lists, it's all checklists and whatnot like that. So this was a good start to everything. And it was good to see the discussion that happened in there, and it was great. I've had some discussion with a few people since then to get the gears turning. But there's still a lot of work to be done to get a good plan in place to be able to protect our city.
That was a great summary. Thank you. Any other reports from council? Staff?
Yeah, I have kind of a whole slew of reports. So first, I just wanted to make council aware, Officer Austin Mossek resigned this morning. So we will, be staffing accordingly during the interim. Counselor Howard covered the natural disaster response planning. I did sit down in the last 2 weeks with Congresswoman Fishbach's newest district outreach representative, Rob Brown. He's been doing meetings throughout the county just to introduce himself, see what else is going on, where they could be of any support. The charitable gambling presentation last week, I thought went well. We had about a dozen people in the room, some from also the larger community, not just Olivia. So that was nice to see. We had a good presenter. There was also a new businesses ribbon cutting this last week, Harvest and Home. If you haven't checked them out, they're on the same block as Hebring Wealth Management. They are a refillery. So you can bring in your own container and you can fill it up with one of their products, be it lotion, shampoos, conditioner, dishwashing soap, anything that you want, and you only pay how much the product weighs. So it's really cool, and I encourage you all to check it out. They've also done beautiful things to the building. The
Yeah,
building
it's
looks
really nice.
gorgeous.
Yeah. It's so
Um,
cool, like you weigh your
Yeah.
your container before you put
And then you
your
pump
product
it
in.
and then you
Weigh
weigh
it
it again.
again, and I have these cute little
Yeah.
tablets.
So it's focusing on like greener projects, low tox, things like that, but still just as effective. So the idea is if you run out of something at your house, instead of going to like Dollar General or Target or wherever, shop local and maybe get a better product. Also just community center updates, you might have seen, so every week we're releasing kind of our weekly schedule where we have different structured activities happening every single week. To try and entice more people to come in and give them some concrete activities to do. This week, throughout the week, we'll be building popsicle bridges. And the one that can hold the most weight will receive a free punch card to the community center. We also, yeah.
I just seeing Ross is here, I wanna say this to the community. We do have summer recreation in town and it's at the Olivia Community Center.
Yes.
There, you have every day of the week, you can bring your kid to the community center. There's something physical for them to do, there's something social for them to do, and there's something intellectual for them to do for 3 hours out of the day. 4 hours out of the day. We have summer rec, and we want to encourage our neighbors to take advantage of it.
Absolutely, and when you're done spending your morning at the community center, which closes at 1, you can go home, eat lunch, grab your swimsuit, and head out over to the pool, the Bolts Community Pool, because they have open swim Monday through Friday, 1:30 to 3:30. So really here in Olivia, we have activities from 9 in the morning to at least 3:30 in the afternoon for all of the youth in our community, which is very exciting. With updates, we have flooring and painting have been approved. We're ordering some meeting room technology as well. So building improvements are chugging along. And then the other thing I just want to draw your attention to is, so I'm attending some conferences in the next 2 weeks. Next week I will be in Rochester for the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference. The following week, Jody and I, as MMPA board members, will be at the American Public Power Association National Conference as well. So if you're reaching me, text, email is probably the best bet, because I will be around, just not physically located here. I'm done talking. Oof.
The charitable gambling, that was very well received, and I did speak to, what was the presenter's name? Erin?
I think it was Erin.
And she is willing to come back again in the fall. Because I told her that, you know, this was the first kind of presentation to be able to get as many people educated on this as possible, and once we got the word out, these people that were in there discuss the information and whatnot, hopefully we would be able to get a bigger audience for another one.
And speaking of charitable gambling, if you need your Corn Capital raffle tickets, City Hall is selling them.
Any other reports from staff?
Oh, where can people buy the Corn Capital Day shirts?
B&D and Olivia Liquor Store. We just put it down to 2 locations. And if we have ran out of the size that you are interested in, there's a sheet there for you to request your size, give us your name and number so we know what reprint needs we have to happen. We go all the way down this year to 12 months. So if you're looking for your littlest ones to be sporting a Corn Capital Day shirts, we can get you covered. Literally.
They're really adorable.
They're really cool.
I mean, they're all adorable. It's a great design. Happy birthday, America.
America runs on corn.
Okay, I agree. With no other business on the agenda.
Sorry, one notice in communication.
Oh, pardon me.
We do have an upcoming event on Monday, June 22nd. So this is a community tree planting event. This is part of our grant with the Minnesota DNR, the Community Tree Planting Grant, where we're inviting the community members to come in to understand kind of what emerald ash borer, the bug is, what it's impacting in our community, and to make their own kind of recommendations, thoughts on tree placement. Also, as a fun incentive, the first 40 people will receive a tree sapling for them to plant in their own yard. So please tell your friends, neighbors, family members about it. We hope to see you at the community center from 4 to 5 next Monday.
Excellent. With no other business on the agenda, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
Motion's been made by Howard and seconded by Baumgartner to adjourn. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
No, I didn't oppose. For the record, that was not opposition.